Welcome to the session. Today I am going to discuss about the first PUC syllabus, the biological classification. So I did it in the previous session partially. Now with the continuation of that one, now let us know about the types of the bacteria. I told you earlier that there are 5 kingdom system classification which was proposed by Whittaker and is universally accepted one. Under that, the first the kingdom is Monera. In the previous class, I explained you about in detail the salient features of the Monera, which include the entire bacteria group and even the types of the bacteria based upon the shape. Today I am going to tell you about the types of the bacteria based upon their nature. They are broadly classified into 2 types. One is Archaebacteria and another one is Eubacteria. These are the 2 groups of Monera or the bacteria. Archaebacteria in the sense, archae means ancient or old. These are the earlier forms of the bacteria. They are even called as oldest living fossils. Remember, whenever we use the word living fossil in the sense remnants of the past. That means whatever the remnant that is available on the globe, but that organism was long back become extinct. Remnants of the past is called what? Fossil. What do you mean by a living fossil? The living fossil is the one which had not undergone any changes since many years together, and the one which is on the verge of extinction. That means to say they are very few in number and are connecting the 2 related groups. These are the key features for any individual to call as a living fossil. Which are the 3 key features or unique features? One is, it should not undergo any changes since long time. Second, they are very few in number and are on the verge of extinction. Third, they form a link between 2 related groups. That is the definition of a living fossil. Archaebacteria are the early forms of bacteria and are commonly called as oldest living fossils, and they are able to survive even in the extreme environmental conditions. That means if at all it is too cold, or if it is too high temperature, even ranging up to 80 or 100 degrees Celsius like that, even then they can survive. That is the features of the Archaebacteria. Archaebacteria is again classified into 3 groups based upon their nature or feature. One is halophiles. Halophiles in the sense they are the salt lovers, commonly called, because they can survive in what? Salt water, which is quite rich in sodium chloride. For their good growth, they require nearly of about 17 to 23% of sodium chloride. Remember, the normal individual, if at all it is put in the sodium chloride solution due to exosmosis, within short period of time, it dies. But it enjoys that situation and they grows well. Hence, they are found in salt waters. Example, Halococcus bacteria and then Halobacterium. These are the halophiles which are salt lovers. That means they require rich or considerable amount of the salt for their survival and for their good growth. The next type is thermoacidophiles. The meaning lies in the word itself. Thermo in the sense heat. Acido in the sense that is acidic nature. As you are aware, based upon the hydroxyl ions and then H plus ions, H plus and OH minus ions, the hydrogen ion concentration, that is pH, is measured. So up to 7 it is acidic. Beyond 7 it is said to be the basic or alkaline. At 7 neutral. So here these bacteria can resist the high temperature, even it exceeds up to 80 degrees Celsius. But in general, the bacteria or any other individual cannot resist the temperature. If at all it goes beyond 42 or 45 degrees Celsius like that. But here it enjoys the situation even if at all the temperature is even up to 80 degrees Celsius. And the pH is 2, that is higher acidic media. And hence they are called as the heat and acid lovers. The example is Thermoproleus and then Sulfobolus. These are the two bacteria for this group. Now, the third one is methanogens. Here itself the meaning is there. Methanogens in the sense the bacteria which are able to generate what? Gas? Methane gas. Methane is nothing but what? The biogas which is used in Gobar gas plant for the production of the electricity, for lighting purposes and even for cooking purposes. It is well practiced in the rural areas. So here these methanogen bacteria are found in the marshy areas. Marshy areas in the sense the one which is said to be with high wet condition. Then even in the swamps. So that is the area which is logged with water. Karlu bhumi anta karittakkanthadu. Adanna we call it as swamps. Then ponds, gut of ruminants like cattle. So ruminant in the sense it is the specialized part of the stomach. So if for example in the cattle, whenever they eat the grass they directly enters into the ruminant chamber of the stomach. And later on, whenever the cattle is at rest, it takes back that one and getting that, chewing that one, and again it is swallowed. So whenever the cattle grazes, that the food directly enters into the ruminant. So at least to remember, ruminant is a specialized part of the stomach found in the ruminant cattle. So like that are the cattle. And then where the methane is generated? Methane is generated from the dung of the cattle. That methane is nothing but what? A biogas. Remember, even in a human dung also, you come across the methanogen bacteria, but the number of the bacteria is quite lesser. Now, example is Methanococcus bacteria, which is widely used in Gobar gas plant for the production of the biogas. All these three, that is halophiles, that is salt lovers, thermoacidophiles, that is heated acid lovers, and then methanogens, those which generate or produce the methane gas, are all the three types of the archaebacteria which can survive in the extreme environmental conditions. That marks the end of the archaebacteria. Now let us concentrate on the another type, that is eubacteria, which are universally distributed. Most of the bacteria, majority of the bacteria, more than 99% of the bacteria what existing come under eubacteria. They have what? A rigid cell wall. Then they may be either motile or non-motile. If at all they have the motility, then there are whip-like structures called flagella for their movement. And then they are universally distributed in the sense they found everywhere. You don't find a place where there is no bacteria. Then they may be pathogen. Pathogen in the sense harmful, causing diseases. Or non-pathogen. That means they are harmless, do not cause any disease. And some bacteria are what? Useful to man. For example, lactobacillus bacteria, helpful in converting the milk into what? The curd, like that. Then, regarding nutrition, they may be autotrophs. That means they are able to synthesize their own food, either by making use of the energy obtained from the chemical reaction or by making use of the solar energy. So, such bacteria are called autotrophs. If at all they depend upon the other source for their food, then they are called heterotrophs. There are different types of the heterotrophs based upon their nutritional habits. Now, this eubacteria is classified as like that of the archaebacteria into following types. Among them, the first one is what? Photosynthetic bacteria. The photosynthetic bacteria is commonly known as cyanobacteria. Cyano in the sense, nothing but blue color. Blue. As they are able to synthesize their food material with the help of a green pigment, it is called green. And cyanobacteria are commonly known as what? Blue-green algae. And the photosynthetic bacteria are able to synthesize their own food by making use of what? Solar energy as like that of higher plants. Hence they are called photosynthetic bacteria. They are unicellular, and then they may be found in a colony, then they are called colonial forms, or even may be found in the form of a filaments. Filament in the sense thin thread-like structures. And these filamentous the structures may also group together form what? A colony. Then the second one is body is covered by gelatinous sheath. What is gelatin? Gelatin is nothing but a protein. What is sheath? Sheath is nothing but a covering that guards the cell. Then the photosynthetic bacteria are able to fix up what? Atmospheric nitrogen by the presence of specialized cells called heterocysts. Or in other words, they have specialized cells called heterocysts. These heterocysts are helpful in what? Fixing up the nitrogen, atmospheric nitrogen, which is available in plenty in atmosphere. Then they are found either in the fresh water or in the marine water or even on land. That means to say overall, they may be either aquatic or even terrestrial. The good examples are the nostoc and the anabena. The nostoc and anabena are found sometime in plenty in the paddy field. If at all water is logged in the paddy field, then it enhances the growth of the nostoc and anabaena. As a result of which, they are helpful in fixing up the nitrogen, and that nitrogen is available to the plants in the form of nitrates, which support good growth of the plants. That is the photosynthetic bacteria. Second one is chemosynthetic bacteria. What are chemosynthetic bacteria? Chemosynthetic bacteria are those which are able to synthesize their own food by making use of the energy that is obtained during the chemical reaction. Remember, here the bacteria used what? Solar energy that is available in the nature. But here they used the chemical energy what liberated during the chemical reactions. And ultimately what is generated? ATP is generated. But for the ATP generation, respiration should occur. Remember, by photosynthesis is a constructive process. Thereby the body weight is increased. Whereas respiration is a destructive process where the stored food is get broken down to form ultimately the energy currency of the cell by name what? ATP, adenosine triphosphate. And then they are also helpful in what? Oxidizing many inorganic substances like that of ammonia or nitrite or nitrate like that. As they are able to oxidize the inorganic substances, they are helpful in what? Recycling of many biogeochemical cycles. Which are the biogeochemical cycles? So the elements which are regularly recycled from the environment to the organism and once again back to the environment is called biogeochemical cycle. Geo in the sense earth, bio in the sense the life. So here as chemical substance is involved here, it is chemical. As it is a cyclical process, it is called cycle. For example, the many biogeochemical cycles are the carbon cycle, where in the atmosphere is the reservoir, the nitrogen cycle, here also the atmosphere is the reservoir, phosphorus and sulfur cycle, the sedimentary rock is the reservoir. So this bacteria are helpful in recycling of the essential elements between the environment and the organism. For example, the nitrosomonas bacteria converts what? Ammonia into nitrite, that is NO2. Whereas nitrobacter converts nitrite, that is NO2, into nitrate, that is NO3. And this NO3 is available to what? Plants, which support growth. So that is the use of that chemosynthetic bacteria. Now the next group is heterotrophic bacteria. Heterotrophic, here the term itself indicates that hetero means different. So trophic means nutrition. That means these bacteria depend on others for their nutrition. The heterotrophic bacteria again can be classified into the three types. One is parasitic, and another saprophytic, and another is symbiotic. The parasitic in the sense, the relationship between the parasite and the host is called what? Parasitism. So here in this parasitism, one is benefited and another is harmed. Which is benefited? The parasite is the beneficiary or benefited, whereas the host on which it depends is get harmed. The parasite here gets its nutrition from the host body. Thereby, the host ultimately may die if at all the effects of the bacteria is severe. For example, Vibrio cholera, the bacteria causes cholera. The cholera resulted in vomiting and diarrhea. If at all it is continued for a long period of the time, naturally due to dehydration, the man dies. If at all the medicines are not taken well in time. Then Salmonella typhi. Salmonella typhi, the term itself indicates it causes typhoid. Typhoid is otherwise known as the enteric fever. So that is the intestinal fever. If at all it is neglected, definitely it also ends in death. It requires long period of treatment. Then Mycobacterium tuberculosis. This is with reference to the lung disease. So now in India and even in the world, the TB is almost eradicated. The incidences of the TB is very, very lesser. Even if at all it is noticed in the earlier stages, it can be easily cured. Once it was a dreadful disease, but now it is not like that. Now, saprophytic bacteria, in the sense, the bacteria which depend on dead and decaying matter. Then, symbiotic bacteria. The bacteria which lives in the association of other or living together is called what? Symbiosis. And the individuals which are involved in that association is called symbionts. In the symbiosis, both are mutually benefited. The A individual and even the B individual, both are mutually benefited. The best example for this symbiosis is the bacterium by name Rhizobium. The Rhizobium lives in the root nodules of what? The leguminous plants by name, that is groundnut. In the groundnut, the root contains the root nodules. The root nodules contain what? Rhizobium bacteria. This Rhizobium bacteria fix what? Atmospheric nitrogen and convert it into what? Nitrate. The nitrate is available to the plant, which is very essential for it to grow. In turn, what the plant provides? The plant provides food and shelter to the bacteria. Remember, if you separate the bacteria from the plant and even the bacteria dies. Hence, such a type of symbiosis is called obligatory mutualism, where the association is compulsory. That means here the bacteria is beneficial. So this is the overall, the concept of what? The different types of the bacteria, where you came across some of the pathogenic, non-pathogenic and even the useful bacteria like that. So with this, the kingdom Monera is supposed to be completed. In the next class, I will take up the another kingdom by name Protista. Thank you, one and all.